By purchasing an investment property off market, you're basically buying the property before it's made available to the public. You have little to no competition, and you're also able to buy the property under market value. In this video, I'm going to show you and share with you some of the things around purchasing an investment property off market and how you can do it yourself. And if you stick around to the end, I'm just going to share with you some of my personal experiences in terms of purchasing off market and how they've been so successful for me. First of all, if you're new to the channel, my name is Sharma and I help everyday Australians build wealth through property by buying properties in high growth suburbs that are positively geared and also with instant equity. If you're looking to get into the Australian property market, or you may already have an investment property or a home yourself, subscribe to this channel as I plan to share some more videos around educating you around the Australian residential real estate by sharing with you tips and also my own personal experiences and things that I've seen from others. If we rewind back a video, you will see that. So finding the property, I just jump on realestate.com or domain.com and it helps me able to sort of filter for the suburb that I'm looking for. I can view a map, I can hover over the whole suburb and look at it, and it'll have properties for sale and so on, and I know exactly which ones to click on. But generally in the areas I'm looking at, there's hardly any properties there for sale. There might be a few. When I say hardly, it could be there's less than 5, there's only a couple, or there's none and you might have to wait for something to come up. And if that's the case, generally sometimes that can be the case because I'm looking at a very high growth suburb where there's a lot of demand, there's not much stock left, and properties don't pop up. If they pop up, they go within days. So then I actually look at off-market opportunities, and to be able to buy a property off-market, that's a separate video itself. So let's kick off. I'm going to talk about what an off-market property is, why a property might be off-market and the risk associated with that, not to you as a buyer but to the seller, and also how you can purchase these investment properties off-market yourself. So in simple terms, off-market property basically means that a property is made available to purchase and it hasn't been advertised or marketed online or through any other channels, and basically you're able to buy those properties. Now it doesn't necessarily mean that because it's off market it's a golden opportunity. It's a really good property. It might be even the best price that you can get for it as an under market value. That does not mean anything. There are properties marketed and off market that are all great. You just got to find the right one. So why would a property be off market? Now there's various different reasons, but the biggest one that I can think of is that it actually costs to advertise and market a property. Now when you want to list a property for sale and make it available and advertise it, there's a lot of cost associated with that. On average, approximately it's around 0.5% to 1% in marketing and advertising costs. Now these costs can be around photography, videography, drawing up any plans, doing any drone footage, 3D maps, advertising on realestate.com, domain.com and various other channels, and also advertising maybe in the local newspaper, putting up a sign at the front of the property. The other thing with advertising and marketing is that you can't just do it overnight. You have to prepare the property for sale. So if you're selling a product, you got to make sure that it actually looks good. So that could be in terms of maybe decorating the home, maybe cleaning, doing the lawns, it could be a small renovation or a partial renovation just to make sure that it's actually looking at its best, and so on. And all of this actually takes time. This can't be done overnight, so it might actually push someone away from going down that path if they're looking for a quick sale, and price is not necessarily an issue for them. Another reason why a property might be off market is because the selling agent might actually have a good, strong network of buyers, which basically means that they've approached the vendor or the vendor's approached them because they've actually got that backing behind them and they have the confidence to be able to sell the property off market through the range of different buyers that they already have in their system through their networks and relationships. Those agents might even suggest to the vendor that, hey look, I can advertise this property to my buyers network, and you might get some offers and so on. We can take it from there before we prepare the property for sale, advertise it, market it and so on, and that might appeal to the vendor. A vendor might even target specific agents just for that have that reputation in the suburb. Now, the biggest risk associated with selling a property off market is that opportunity risk, where if you actually went to market and actually paid $2,000, $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 to advertise and market the property, you might even get something, an offer that's actually much higher than that advertising cost. However, vendors are able to mitigate this risk by engaging with high performing top agents that in their specific area, that have that relationship, that have those networks, that might be able to actually sell the property without it going to market. So I've covered what an off-market property is, and you guys have a good idea of what that is. I've covered why a property might be off-market, and there's, apart from the couple different reasons I've given, there could be other reasons. It could be a deceased estate and so on. And now we're going to look at how we can actually purchase these off-market properties ourselves. If I may just touch on this point, buyer's agent would usually say, hey look, if you want to engage us, we're able to find these off-market opportunities because we are in there, we're buying properties day in, day out, and we have those networks with agents to be able to purchase those off-market opportunities. And let me tell you, that isn't always the case. You, as an everyday individual Australian, can do that from the comfort of your own home yourself. I've done it myself, and in this video I'm going to show you how you can do it yourself. However, before we start, I just want to make sure that the steps that I'm going to share with you, there's some pre-work before this. You can't just go out and do it yourself. There's two things you must know. Well, number one is that you must know which suburb or a couple of suburbs that you want to make your next purchase in. And without having this suburb, basically this strategy won't work. The second thing you want to know is you need to know what type of property you're looking for, and also which part of that suburb you want that property to be in. So when you figured out your suburb or a couple of suburbs, and you know where in that suburb you want to buy your next property, and you also know what type of property you want, what we're going to do is actually going to reach out to these high performing top agents to be able to talk to them one-on-one for any potential off-market opportunities. Now you can do this from the comfort of your own home. All you have to do is go on ratemyagent.com.au and navigate to sales, locations, and enter in the suburb that you're investing in. So for example, I'm just going to use Gosford for this instance. Now when you search for Gosford, what you have to do is look at the top 5 agents. I suggest 3 to 5 different agents. Then what you're going to do is actually going to reach out to these top 5 agents to talk to them about any off-market or pre-market opportunities. Pre-market opportunity is pretty much very similar to an off-market, except it hasn't been advertised. It's just a pre-market opportunity before the property is going to be advertised. It gives that first look, sort of like a preview of the property, you can say. So what you want to do is you want to call these top 5 agents and just let them know who you are. So, hi agent, my name is Samir. I'm looking for an investment property in Gosford in this particular part of the suburb. Here's my criteria, boom, 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 boom. I've got my pre-approval ready to go. And if you have anything that comes up, please let me know and we can take it from there. Those are the things that you want to do. Now, in terms of criteria, what you want to give them. So I usually like to give them the number of bedrooms that I'm looking for, because there's usually a price difference between 2, 3 and 4 bedroom, and that's quite substantial. So I like to give an ideal number of bedrooms, and I don't want to give them a lot of information because then it really narrows down the criteria. Now I'll be realistic that in the specific suburbs that I'm investing in, it's usually very low stock, there's a lot of demand, and I don't want to be so fussy and finicky that the agent just thinks, oh, it's just too hard, like he's too particular. So I usually just give them the number of bedrooms I'm looking for, maybe the shape and size of the land, a specific area, so it needs to be near this park or this school or this shopping center, and also things like the building age, any specific features in terms of backyard. Do I want one? Do I not want one? Do I want something else there? Do I want the ability for the property to have to be able to do a development or subdivision or anything like that, or renovation or anything like that. And these 2-3 different criteria really paints the picture for the agent. It just opens their mind up and really narrows it down to what would appeal to you. Now when you're calling these agents, make sure that you actually write some good notes, because what the plan of this strategy is that you're going to call them once a week, and it only takes about 10 minutes each agent, no more than 10 minutes. And you just call them and you just tell them, hey, it's Samir again, I called you last week, I'm still looking for a property, pre-approval, ready to go, here's my criteria, boom, boom, boom. Just let me know if anything has come up and we can take it from there. And this is why you need to take some good notes, because you can reflect on them, see when you last called them, maybe what time you called them, and what you actually spoke about last time, so you can pick up and take it from there. By doing all of this, the agent will eventually pick up the phone and say, hey Samir, hey, how are you, how's things, are you still looking, blah blah blah. They'll have you front of mind, they'll know you're still looking, they'll know what type of property you're looking for, and that all really accelerates when you have 5 agents doing the same thing for you. And eventually what's going to happen is an agent's going to give you a call and present a property that suits you to you. Agents are going through appraising different homes from day to day or week to week, and by doing this they actually have you front of mind, and they can actually speak to the vendor themselves and say, hey look, I actually have a potential buyer that would be interested in this particular property, should I have a word with them if you're thinking of selling, and maybe we can work something out. And that's where you get these off-market opportunities. You can also jump into an off-market opportunity where a property is with the agent, he's about to advertise it, and he just says to the vendor, hey look, I've got somebody here, he wants to buy this property. Before putting it on realestate.com and going through the photos, going through all of that, do you want me to just let him know and see if we can get a price off him? We'll get an offer off him and take it from there. And those are the ones where you'll find those off-market opportunities. Agents are talking to multiple different potential buyers or vendors at a time, and they really know they're there on the ground. And by having constant touch with them once a week, you're really able to hover on top of them, and they'll be really working for you, because essentially they already have a buyer ready to go. So I really appreciate that you've stuck around to the end of this video. I'm just going to share with you, no script, actually there was no script for this video. I'm just going to share with you some of my personal experiences. So end of last year I was looking for an investment property in Newcastle area, and in the suburb that I was looking for, it was really low stock, really high demand, and a lot of interest on realestate.com ads, for example. So a lot of hits per ad, a lot of inquiries, and it was really hard trying to find something. So I actually ended up seeing a property, a nice 3-bedroom house in Newcastle, and I actually just said, hey look, before the first open home, here is my offer, I'm ready to go, pre-approval approved. And they didn't actually have a price on there, because just how high demand and how hot the market was at the time. Actually, it still is, it's even hotter now. And basically they presented the offer to the vendor and they said, it's good, it's not great, but we'll still like to go for the open home because we just want to see what comes out of it. So a few days later, they actually went to open home, and I think about 20-25 different buyer groups came in. The property, like I said, wasn't advertised at a particular price. My budget was between $5 and $550, and I offered about $526. And basically the agent said, I've got an interest, someone that's interested, they're offering in the late 500s, and I thought, oh, just forget it. That's not where I see the value in this property. So I let that one go, and that actually ended up selling for about $580,000. Now a few days later, and also a couple of weeks later, 2 properties popped up in those time periods. One was about sold for about $580, the other one sold for $582. They both were okay, so not exactly to my specific criteria in terms of finding that high growth property, but they did sell around those high 5s mark. And really I felt like, okay, I'm really not going to get anywhere with this suburb, because just the amount of demand and the number of potential buyers that are in the market, open homes, all that. So I started using exactly what I've just shown you in this video, contacted the top 3 agents in that suburb, And basically I was working Friday afternoon at work, and I get a call, "Hey Samir, I've got this property, number 5 XXX," and I said, "Okay, cool, I'll have a look." And within half an hour or an hour, I sort of looked at the property online. It wasn't advertised, I couldn't see an ad obviously, so it was just looking at Google Maps, a couple of other sources as well, to find out its build date, any history on the property in terms of how much it sold for, and how, any renovations that are required or anything like that. So did all my due diligence that I could based on the limited information that I had, and I actually was in a position to make an offer to the agent. And at the time I made an offer about $540,000. This house was a bit better. It actually had a lot more land, and it was a tiered backyard, so it's a very hilly area, so it's very hard to find very flat land, but it was really good in that sense in terms of nice big backyard, 3-bedroom house, split 2 and 1 bathroom and so on, brick and tile. So basically what I did was I said 540, ready to go, and they said, "Nah mate, it's gonna go pre-market next Wednesday, and then we're gonna advertise it on various different channels, and we think it's gonna go in the mid to late 500s. And I thought, okay, here we go, it's another $580,000 property. And I just said to the agent, "Look, now I can talk about negotiation in other videos, but basically through negotiation, my max was 550, and I said, what's your price that you're ready to go at? I'm ready to go, save you a few $1,000s in terms of advertising," and they wouldn't give me a price. So they actually went pre-market, and they had about 8 to 10 different people that were booked in. Now this is pre-market, so they're about to go on the market, but this is just within their other buyer groups. I was one of the buyers, potential buyers, and someone actually was interested in buying it in that mid to late 500 range, and he said to me that this person doesn't have their pre-approval yet, but they're very interested, so the vendor has decided to go on market because I'm sure they'll find another buyer, and it's a very hot suburb and so on. And I said, okay, that's fine, just give me the price from the vendor, and I will, if it suits me, I'll take it, otherwise I'll leave it. Basically, I ended up asking him, what price would the vendor accept if I was to put an offer right now, and it came back at about 550,000. And when I did come back to him and said, "Look, I'll pay the 550," he said, "Oh, can you do 560?" Obviously he was joking here and there, but I ended up getting it at 550. Now I actually did some other negotiations on the property based on the building and pest, and no, I didn't pay for that either. And basically through all that, through negotiation and having everything ready to go, I purchased the property at 550. Currently the properties are selling well above 600 now in that suburb, 6 months down the track, and I had a tenant on day 1, so 0 vacancy. Everything's going great. So call your agents, call the top 5 agents in your area, give them the strict criteria, call them once a week, let them know that you exist, you have your pre-approval, you're ready to go, you're ready to purchase. You must know which suburb you're investing in, and you must know which part and which type of property you want in that suburb, and I'm sure you will find something. It might take a week, it might take 3 weeks, it might take 2 months, but you will get there. Be persistent, and yeah, really appreciate it. If you have any feedback to offer, or if you have any suggestions for future videos, I would greatly appreciate that. Again, if you enjoyed the content on this channel, subscribe down below. I would really appreciate it. Alright, I'm gonna check out now. Thanks guys, have a good one.